They didn't want them in tanks. They didn't want them pulling triggers. They said black soldiers didn't have the courage or the intelligence to fight, so the U.S. Army gave them trucks instead. And then something unexpected happened. These unfit soldiers won World War II from behind a steering wheel. August 25, 1944, Normandy. General Patton's tanks are racing across France so fast they're outrunning their own supply lines. His armored divisions are grinding to a halt, not from enemy fire, from lack of gasoline. That's when the Army made a desperate decision: mobilize 6,000 trucks, 23,000 drivers, 2 one-way highways through occupied enemy territory, run them around the clock. No headlights, no stopping. The Red Ball Express was born. According to the National World War II Museum and the U.S., the Army Transportation Corps, 75% of those drivers were black. The Army didn't choose them because they believed in them. They chose them because nobody else was available, and they expected the operation would fail anyway. It didn't. These men drove at speeds exceeding 60 miles per hour through pitch-black French countryside. They switched drivers while trucks were still moving. They skipped the mandatory 30-minute breaks. In the first month alone, according to military records, they burned through 40,000 tires on roads destroyed by bombs, shell fragments, and barbed wire. But the trucks kept coming. In 82 days of continuous operation, according to documented Army Transportation Corps records, these men delivered 412,000 tons of fuel, ammunition, food, and equipment to 28 Allied divisions. They drove through enemy fire. They drove past dead bodies. They drove while terrified. But they kept the entire Allied advance moving. General George Patton declared the 2.5-ton supply truck his most valuable weapon of the war. Colonel John Eisenhower, Supreme Commander's son, wrote that the advance across France could not have been made without these drivers. A 5th armored tank driver put it simply: "If it wasn't for the Red Ball, we couldn't have moved. We'd be in our tanks praying for them to come up." They were praying for black soldiers to save them. Here's what America doesn't teach you. The segregated army said these men were unfit for combat, too cowardly, too stupid, so they stuck them in trucks. And those unfit soldiers became the logistics backbone that defeated Nazi Germany. They delivered supplies under constant enemy fire. They drove roads littered with mines. An armored division commander said, "The black drivers delivered gas under constant fire. Damned if I'd want their job. They have what it takes." But history erased them. The Red Ball Express faded into a footnote. Those 23,000 faces disappeared. The segregated army didn't want to acknowledge that the victory, that the entire war's momentum, depended on the men they deemed unworthy of combat. A 5th Armored Division tank driver said something that should haunt us. "If it wasn't for the Red Ball, we couldn't have moved. They all were black drivers. All of them, not some. All. They couldn't eat at the same lunch counter as white soldiers back home. Or they couldn't sleep in the same barracks as white soldiers. They couldn't vote. But when America needed them to win the war, those inferior soldiers climbed into those trucks and rewrote military history. The Red Ball Express ran for 82 days, 412,000 tons delivered, 0 major supply failures, the most successful supply operation in World War II history, 75% black drivers, and America made them footnotes. This Black History Month, know their names. Know their sacrifice. Know that the men the Army said weren't brave enough to fight proved that courage doesn't ask permission. It doesn't wait for recognition. It just shows up, drives all night, delivers the supplies, and changes the course of history. Share this. Because these men deserve to be known. Like, comment what you think they should have been honored for. Follow for the untold stories, because history's full of them.